Hello, SPED 2010 students. I hope everyone has had a great Labor Day weekend and is ready to start the first week of content. So, last week we did a lot of first week orientation, getting to know the course, talking about service learning, and discussing that. So, this week we're actually going to start our first module. Before we get into that, I just wanted to remind you that this week on Thursday, the 5th, I believe it is when you have your service learning application due to Teams. Now, at this point, everyone should have watched the overview video of service learning. I can't emphasize enough how important that video is because you are not in person. That way you need to see what is going on and I walk you through how to actually upload your document, show you where to find information. So please watch that if you haven't. And that is located on the course homepage inside of our course. So one thing I did want to mention about Teams is once you join with the join code, which I discuss in the video, is you will find your name there, and there is a certain way you'll upload and submit those to Teams because you will not be putting your service learning documents in our course. The only thing that will be put into Dropbox for service learning is going to be your journal and your written analysis document. So just keep that in mind. The rest of the information needs to go to the service learning coordinator, and since she doesn't have access to our course, it's important for you to put it inside Teams in your class notebook. And that's why we have a one notebook assigned to you. We set it up that way. That way the service learning coordinator can get the proper documents. And we can get it marked off that you have completed those items. I have emailed several of you back regarding your background check, so please check your email from me. I have responded and replied, especially if you already work for a school system. I have attached a document that you will need your employer to complete to verify that you've had your background check done. So please make sure you check your email. If you have any questions about service learning, please feel free to reach out. I'd rather you ask. I'm available to talk over the phone or in person, or we can do a Teams meeting. So please reach out if you have questions. Now, for this week, like I mentioned, we are going to be starting the first module, Module 1. Module 1 is really going to be looking at teaching in today's inclusive classrooms. And what does that actually look like? What does that mean? We're going to be looking at current legislation that deals with special education, some milestones, some court cases, and how they impacted special education as well. Introducing you to Universal Design for Learning and really starting to look at IDEA. What is that? How that plays a key role when we're talking about special education. So the way that I laid out each module, and you're going to see within the 10 modules, they're very linear. That way it's easy for you to check off as you go through the sections before you get to the assignments. Now, the first thing you're going to see is a module overview and outcomes. So it kind of gives you an overview of what that section is going to be about, what are the outcomes and activities associated with that module, and how they connect to our learning objectives. I have keywords and concepts for you that you need to look at, what's important. And then the standards, looking at the in-test standards, looking at the teaching professional standards, obviously, but we're also going to be looking at Council for Exceptional Children standards and the ones that we're going to be covering in that specific module. So after we get through the first introduction section, you're going to see another section that's labeled Reading and Resources. So all of this is going to help you be able to connect to the content and objectives that we have for that module. The first section is called Required Reading. This is going to be the reading that you will be doing with your chapter, as well as any additional articles or text, e-text that I have provided for you. So your textbook, as I mentioned, we do use it. It is located in our course under Student Help, Red Shelf Course Materials. You click on it and you will see our book, Teaching in Today's Inclusive Classrooms. So make sure that you go ahead and download it and get to your textbook so you'll have it on your device. The other one that I offered is a link. It's an extra resource that's also free to students. I want you to also read chapter 1 in that text, A Teacher's Guide to Special Education, because I feel like it's going to give you a better overview as well and dive a little bit deeper into our topic this week. So after you look at the required reading, the next ones that we have for you is going to be your PowerPoint and your outline. So as I mentioned, we rely heavily on our textbook because a lot of our quizzes and exams are coming from there that relates to our student objectives. So I provide you with PowerPoint slides that go along with the chapter as well as an outline. Now, one thing I wanted to mention about the outline, you do not submit these every week, but these are very beneficial for you as a study tool. So I highly encourage students to fill these out. You can download and edit the text. It tells you, it goes along with the slides and the text to let you know certain sections in the textbook, as well as where they're located on the slides. So very beneficial for our study tool. So I encourage you to look at those and fill those out. I do have some videos here that I thought would be useful for you as far as going a little bit deeper into IDEA. What is it? What is the Individual with Disabilities Education Act? I have 2 videos. Now, I also provided the transcript for you, so please make sure that if you're not a visual person and you're more of a read-write learner, you might just want to skip to the transcript section. I also provided you with a brochure about the Tennessee Early Intervention System and how that relates to our topic of inclusive classrooms. I felt like this brochure was very useful. I would go ahead and use it as a resource, so you can go ahead and look through that if you want as well. I provide you with citations for the course and where I've gotten the material, and I put that in there. Now, one thing I did want to note is there is a section called questions about the course. I put this in each module. So if you have a question pertaining to module 1 or whatever module you're in, you can just go ahead and click on it. It'll take you to the discussion board. I try to check those about every 2 to 3 days. If you have a pressing question, you may just want to email me directly through eLearn. But if you have a question, and sometimes even students answer the question for you before I have a chance to get to it. So I always encourage students to kind of look at that discussion board as well, because you might find it useful. Someone may have the same question as you, but I encourage you to use that as well. Now, after you get through the resources, you're going to see a separate section, and I'll show you just in a second. You'll see the way that it's laid out is very linear, so it's helpful for you to check through that. Now, one way to navigate it that students find easier is if you go to the table of contents under the module that we're actually working in that week. You'll just click on reading and resources, and you'll have all the resources. And then when you're done going through the resources and reading and studying, you can go ahead and just click on activities and assessments. And that's where you're going to find the things that you have to complete that is connected to grades and our objectives. So what you're going to see here, in addition to your assignment that you will be completing and putting in Dropbox, is you're going to see your quiz. After each module, you're going to be taking a quiz. So you will have a module 1 quiz. The quizzes come from the textbook and your resources. So that's why I encourage you, please read the textbook chapters, because that's where a lot of your quizzes are going to come from. So you'll see here I have a date of when it opens and when it will close. So all of the assignments and quizzes will close on Sunday. The things that will have different dates is always going to be service learning. So those dates are set by our education department. So a lot of times you might see that they're due, September 5th. I believe that's a Thursday. That's a little bit different than when we have class assignments. So just make sure that you're aware of that and you're looking at the due dates. So this week you have an IDEA sheet that is going along with Individuals with Disability Education Act. I had left you the video there. Make sure that you watch that and then you look at that section. There's a really large section of that in your text. So that's those two things are really going to help you be able to complete this worksheet. So you will be able to download it and type in this document and save it to your device, and that's what you're going to submit to Dropbox. Now, I also provide students with review games. Sometimes these are Quizlets, sometimes these are Nearpod quizzes, quiz reviews. This is just a great way for you to get feedback as a study tool to see kind of where you are, if you need extra time to look maybe deeper into a section that you don't understand, or maybe you're like, I need help with that. So I feel like these review games really are beneficial for students. So I encourage you to use those as a study tool in this course. And then, of course, you have the service learning application there for you, for the link for you. Now, remember, that link is just to let you know it's due. As I mentioned, you will be submitting your service learning documents to Teams folder in your one notebook. So if you are struggling and you haven't put in your Teams code or joined with the Teams code and you need help, please reach out. But I would encourage you first to start watching that overview video that is on the course homepage, because that really walks you step by step of what you need to do to get and join the Teams code, but also walks you through looking at the counties, the background check. We talk about all of those things. So please make sure you watch that video. But after you watch it, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. All right, so that is pretty much what we're going to be doing for our first module. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Until next time, take care.